Hey peeps, welcome back to my channel. My name is Drusilla Shay, if you don't know already. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about what you need to know as a first-time cruiser. So grab your notebooks, grab your pens. It's time to take notes. When it comes to the planning of your cruise, you definitely want to consider the kind of trip that you want to have. When I went on my very first cruise recently with MSC, which I did leave a review on that on my channel, I went on a 7-day cruise and we stopped off at Port Canaveral in Florida. We stopped off at Nassau in the Bahamas, and we also stopped off at Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, which is MSC's private island in the Bahamas. That was 3 stops. Each of them was for 1 day. We did not stay anywhere overnight. And so the majority of the trip was actually spent on the ship. What I realized as a first-time cruiser is that I would rather go on a cruise that docks at a location for several days or at least overnight, so I can feel like I'm getting a more well-rounded experience at the locations that we stop off at. For example, when we stopped off at Nassau, it just started pouring rain. Half the day was pretty much gone, and we just used a little bit of time that we had to go and explore the area, and we had to essentially come back soon after that. So I like to explore when I'm on vacation. I may not always want to have a super active vacation, but I do want to spend some more time at the locations I'm going to versus being on the ship most of the time. If you feel like you might resonate with that, then consider going on a cruise that is docking at places for several days or at least overnight, so that you can feel like you're getting more of experience at those locations that you stop at. If you're the type of person who you just kind of want to relax, then you may not mind spending most of your time on the ship. So just keep those things in mind. Something that you also want to keep in mind is the kind of cruise package that you buy. It shapes your experience. There are different tiers to the cruise packages. If you get the most cost-effective one, most likely you are not going to have access to a lot of amenities, and you're going to have to shell out extra money to be able to access certain things like specialty dining, for example. Or if you were to have a mid-level package or a high-level package, obviously it comes with more perks. So in my case, I had the Fantastica experience at MSC. I was able to enjoy a lot of things. However, I did realize that if you want to package up, you'll be able to do things like access certain parts of the ship that were like exclusive to people who had that package. You were able to also get more access to specialty dining. So just be mindful of the kinds of packages that you're looking into and what you want to get out of your trip. Next up, we're going to talk about the rooms. What room that you choose, it makes a really big difference unless you feel like you're going to be spending a majority of your time outside of your cabin. Now, if you know you're going to be spending a decent amount of time in your room, and you know you're the type of person who, you kind of want a little bit more freedom, you want to go out and get some fresh air, you like views, then you definitely want to get yourself a room that at least has a window or a balcony. I personally got a balcony room. I don't like enclosed spaces. So if you know that you're that type of person, then you definitely want to look into rooms that would allow you to at least see the outside. Something else to consider about your room is the location on the ship. You do have access to a ship map when you are booking your rooms. Something that you have to consider are the locations that are near stairways and elevators, the locations that are underneath dining rooms or really, really busy, crowded areas, because most likely those areas are going to be more noisy, being that there is going to be more foot traffic. So if you want something that's a little bit, quieter, a little bit less foot traffic, then you want to try your best to book a room that isn't near all the action so that you are getting a more peaceful location. This is something that I really wish that I did, but I've learned my lesson and I hope that you learn from me. Do your research on the location / the ports that you will be stopping off at. Don't just rely on what is on the cruise's website or the cruise's app. You don't necessarily even have to go with whatever your cruise offers when you stop off at those ports. You can go and do your own thing, but you won't know what the location offers unless you do your own research. Honestly, I just looked at whatever MSC had on their app, and they did have a lot to offer in terms of excursions, places to, sightsee, all the things. But I feel like there was a lot. For example, at Nassau, I didn't know about. I was trying to gather as much information when we were docking of like the beaches that we can go to, but if I had actually done my research ahead of time, then obviously we could have planned accordingly, found out how to get transportation in those locations, because especially if you're going to a foreign place, as long as you're not familiar with that place, it's good to do your research and just know what's around, how to get to those locations that you want to visit. You live and you learn, so definitely learn from me. As a first-time cruiser, you want to ask a lot of questions. I recommend asking as many questions as possible before you even go on your trip. Do not think anything is stupid. Always look into it. There's so much you will learn just from asking questions. Even something as simple as ironing. I had no clue about that. I found that out the night before my cruise, that there was not going to be any iron in my room. My clothes were wrinkly. I found out that you had to actually pay for ironing. Hubby helped, but we spent that night essentially ironing and repacking our clothes because we didn't want to pay for ironing. But it's something as simple as that where it's just like, I would have never known. I'm used to going to hotels where they have irons. So don't be shy about it. Ask questions before you even go on your trip. Call customer service if you need to. Do your research online about the actual, cruise ship and what to expect and dress codes and what kind of foods they offer, all the things, especially if you have any type of restrictions, disability restrictions, dietary restrictions. Don't assume anything. This part is really, really important because it determines whether you get on your cruise ship or not. You most likely going to be crossing borders. You are definitely going to have the right identification. You want to make sure that you're not only checking the cruise line's website and seeing what kind of documentation that you have, but I would even go as far as to calling them and making sure, because that can quite literally make or break your trip. You may not know that when you go on a cruise ship, there is usually a safety drill that happens. In my experience, when I went on the MSC ship, all they had you do was go to some place on the ship, and then the staff just told us, okay, this is where you're supposed to go in case of an emergency. Beside that, we just had to watch a safety video, which consisted of details on what to do in an emergency. So if I were you, I would just get it over with. Do whatever safety drill you have to do so that you don't have to worry about it for the rest of your trip. In my experience, when it came to the luggage, our luggage was incredibly heavy. I stuff a lot of things in my suitcase. It's gonna close, but it's gonna be like 100 pounds. When we got to the ship, all they had to do was put like a tag on it, and it was brought to our room not too long after we actually got to our room, so that was convenient. I believe that you are able to take it for yourself if you wanted to, but you can also opt out for them to take your suitcases to your room. However, just be mindful of the fact that it may not be there immediately. When you get to your room, you may have to wait a little bit, and usually they'll give you a time block, like your suitcase is probably going to get to your room between the times of 3 to 7 p.m. So just also be prepared for that and make sure that you have your important things on hand. Pack some sweaters and some other things, which I'll get to. But pack some sweaters, okay? I mentioned this in my last video about cruises and what to pack, what to wear. Once you on them waters, there's a breeze. Depending on where you're going, what time of the year you're going, there may be a very cool breeze. Make sure that you're prepared. And something else that you will want to get familiar with is whatever activities are going to be going on the ship, including their themed nights. If they have a white party, if they have a 70s party, if they have a formal night, you want to make sure that you're packing for that, especially if you want to be involved in those festivities. Even if you don't partake in their formal night, they do also have professional photography a lot of the times on ships. And so you might want to take advantage of that, do like a nice little photo shoot. That's when that nice suit and that nice gown is going to come in handy. I would recommend packing some sort of entertainment with you on the ship. There might be times where you miss entertainment. You may not be able to catch certain entertainment. Most likely there's going to be a TV in your room, but it's not like you get to watch all the shows that you want to watch. There's going to be a limited selection. If you want to, download some movies or shows on your phone or your tablet, make sure that you do that. Maybe you like to read books. It'll be great to go on the balcony, catch the views, read some books. I definitely was out there reading a couple of times and it was just so beautiful and peaceful. If you like board games, if you like card games, pack some of those things with you. You might find yourself wanting to grab those some nights, right? Especially if you're going with a group or even just going with one other person. Because there might be times when there's not much going on the ship, or you may not be into what is going on the ship at that moment, but you still want to keep yourself occupied. Speaking of entertainment, something you want to do is familiarize yourself with the entertainment on board beforehand. If you are interested in going to certain theater shows, going to certain dance classes, if it requires reservations, book that fast. If you wait too long, it may be fully booked. You may not get the opportunity to partake in those things. Always be prepared to spend more than just your flights and the cruise itself, because you might want to add on certain packages, for example, drink packages or internet packages, or you just might want to buy certain things when you get to your locations. Maybe you might want to leave tip for the staff. And so it's good to always reserve an additional amount of money that you are going to be spending when you're actually on the cruise, especially if you plan on going on excursions. Look into the cost and a lot money aside for that, but also just add on a little bit more. It's better to not be caught off guard like, oh man, I didn't know I had to pay extra for that. Reserve the money, keep it to the side in case you need it, especially cash. We're in a day and age where we use a lot of cards, but it is good to also have some cash on hand when you travel. Last but not least, something that you want to do is put your phone on airplane mode when you are taking off from the port. Most likely, if you do not put your phone on airplane mode, you are going to be incurring a lot of charges. And we don't want that. You don't want that. If you're the type of person who you feel like it's something you might forget, once you get on that ship, I would just put the phone on airplane mode, or try your best to even set an alarm to remind yourself to do that so that you don't mess around and get yourself caught up with a big old phone bill. Alrighty, y'all, so that is it for this video. If you found this helpful, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I welcome any seasoned cruisers, anyone who has already been on a cruise, to leave any further tips for first-time cruisers down below in the comments. If you have not already, please do not forget to press that red subscribe button. It's free, and please turn on that bell notification button so that anytime I post, you're gonna be up to date. I appreciate you watching. God bless you, and I will catch y'all in my next video next Sunday. Deuces.